Hey everyone! Ready to dive deep into the world of The Kissing Booth? Released on May 11th, 2018, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. The Kissing Booth, a film that captured hearts, sparked conversations, and turned a seemingly simple high school romance into a cultural phenomenon. Released on May 11th, 2018, this Netflix original quickly became a sensation, not just for its charming storyline, but for the electric chemistry between its lead actors and the relatable, sometimes painfully awkward moments of growing up. With its blend of humor, romance, and a few surprising twists, it's a film that resonated with audiences across the globe, bringing something fresh to the often overused teen rom-com genre. What makes The Kissing Booth stand out among the plethora of teen romances is its irresistible mix of familiar tropes and unpredicted depth. On the surface, it might seem like just another high school love story, but what the film does is weave together themes of friendship, loyalty, self-discovery, and navigating the complexities of human relationships. It doesn't shy away from the messiness of love, both romantic and platonic, and the growing pains that come with balancing both. It takes the well-trodden path of high school romantic dilemmas and injects new energy and heart into it. But it also does something that so few teen films manage. It creates moments so universally relatable that you can't help but see yourself in the character's shoes. At the center of this whirlwind of emotions and comedy is Elle Evans, played with heartfelt charm by Joey King, whose portrayal of an awkward, lovable high school girl caught in the tumult of first love and friendship is both endearing and painfully real. Elle's relationship with her best friend Lee, Joel Courtney, is the backbone of the story. Together, they've built a world of inside jokes, traditions, and most importantly, rules. But Elle's seemingly harmless violation of one of these rules, not dating Lee's older brother, Noah, sets off a chain of events that no one, least of all Elle, could have predicted. Noah Flynn, the brooding older brother played by Jacob Elordi, is the type of character who makes you fall in love with the idea of a bad boy before you even realize you're falling for him. He's protective, charismatic, and, as Elle soon discovers, hiding a lot more under that tough exterior than she initially thought. His chemistry with Elle is undeniable, and as their secret romance blooms, The Kissing Booth plunges into the classic teen dilemma of balancing love with the risk of breaking sacred friendships. As the film unfolds, we're not just watching Elle navigate her feelings for Noah but also seeing her grapple with her own identity, her loyalty to Lee, and the complex way that growing up forces us to reevaluate the relationships we thought would never change. The plot begins innocuously enough with a high school fundraiser, a kissing booth, to be precise, where Elle and Noah share a kiss that sends ripples through their high school social circles. What starts as a fun and innocent moment quickly snowballs into a hidden romance that becomes impossible to keep under wraps. As Elle sneaks around behind Lee's back, trying to maintain the facade of being just his best friend's little sister, she soon finds herself entangled in the tension between the love she's beginning to feel for Noah and the deep bond she shares with Lee, which feels as though it's being strained by her secrecy. But The Kissing Booth isn't just about the romantic tension between Elle and Noah. It's about the shifting dynamics between friends, the complexities of family, and the tough decisions that come with maturing. We see Elle's internal struggle reflected in her changing relationship with Lee. As she navigates the tricky waters of keeping secrets and prioritizing the people she loves, her friendship with Lee is tested in ways that make the film feel more grounded and real than just a typical teen romance. The emotional depth beneath the surface is one of the key reasons why The Kissing Booth stands out from other films in its genre. What makes this movie extraordinary is not just the plot or the performances but how it perfectly captures that in-between space of adolescence where everything feels important, where every choice, every kiss, every fight has a lasting impact. It taps into that universal feeling of first love, the excitement, the confusion, and the heartache, and it does so with a rawness that feels surprisingly refreshing. Elle, in particular, isn't portrayed as a perfect, flawless heroine. She's messy, unsure, and sometimes makes mistakes, but that's what makes her relatable. The journey she goes through, from awkward teenage girl to someone who is beginning to understand herself, feels like a rite of passage that many viewers can relate to. And who doesn't remember what it's like to fall for someone who seems so out of reach, only to discover that they might just feel the same way? The visuals of The Kissing Booth play a key role in creating the light-hearted yet emotionally charged atmosphere that permeates the entire film. Bright, sunlit scenes give the film a fresh, youthful energy, while moments of tension between Elle and Noah are often framed with intimate, softer lighting that pulls the audience deeper into their growing connection. The film knows when to hold back, when to linger on a look, a touch, a conversation, and when to let the music take over the emotion of a scene. And speaking of music, the soundtrack is packed with songs that perfectly capture the mood of the movie, whether it's the rush of first love or the ache of heartbreak. As the film progresses, it delves deeper into the personal struggles of the characters. Noah, for all his charm and seemingly impenetrable exterior, has a complicated relationship with his family, especially his father, and that emotional baggage bleeds into his connection with Elle. Elle, on the other hand, finds herself questioning the rules she's lived by for so long and the consequences of bending or breaking them. These moments of self-reflection aren't overplayed. Instead, they're weaved into the fabric of the story in a way that feels organic. Watching Elle grapple with what's right, what's fair, and what it means to truly grow up makes her journey not just about love but about discovering who she is and where she stands in the world. Now, why did The Kissing Booth become such a cultural phenomenon? It's not just about the romance. It's about how it taps into that timeless feeling of being young, torn between different worlds, and facing decisions that, in the moment, feel like they'll define the rest of your life. The film offers both the magic and the messiness of adolescence, making it accessible to audiences of all ages. For younger viewers, it's a nostalgic dive into high school relationships, while for older viewers, it's a reminder of the complexities of youth and the sweet bittersweetness of love that comes with growing up. But it's not just the storyline that made this film a cultural moment. The chemistry between Joey King and Jacob Elordi was electric, and their on-screen relationship quickly became iconic. Their performances felt genuine and effortless, and it wasn't long before the film inspired countless fan theories, discussions, and even a dedicated fan base. The undeniable chemistry between the two actors elevated the material, making the stakes of the movie feel real, something that wasn't just confined to the screen but carried over into the real world, where fans were invested in their relationship, both on-screen and off-screen. The Kissing Booth became the kind of movie that people could talk about endlessly, whether it was debating Noah's sometimes problematic behavior, analyzing Elle's choices, or discussing the heartwarming friendship between Elle and Lee. And, of course, it also became a launchpad for the careers of its young stars, particularly Joey King, whose portrayal of Elle resonated with audiences and made her a beloved figure in the rom-com space. But beyond all the drama, romance, and heartache, The Kissing Booth also offered something deeper. A reflection of the choices we make when we're young, the consequences of those choices, and the emotional growth that comes with them. In a world where we're constantly looking for the next big trend, The Kissing Booth stood out because it wasn't afraid to embrace the chaos of love, friendship, and self-discovery. It allowed viewers to relive those high school moments, the joy of first loves, and the heartache of navigating the complexities of growing up, all in one film. As The Kissing Booth made its way through countless Netflix queues, it became more than just a teen movie. It became a shared experience, one that viewers could revisit over and over. It's a movie that, in its own way, tells us that it's okay to be messy, to make mistakes, and to fall in love in the most unexpected of places. It's a celebration of youth, of discovering who we are, and of embracing the moment before it slips away. And that's why, years later, The Kissing Booth continues to stand as a testament to the enduring magic of teen rom-coms, a movie that will remain in our hearts long after the credits roll. The Kissing Booth begins with a burst of energy as we meet Elle Evans, an awkward, yet undeniably charming, high school student who seems caught between the carefree joys of adolescence and the looming uncertainties of the future. Right from the outset, Elle's voiceover invites us into her world. She's an outsider in many ways, yet deeply connected to the few people who matter most, her best friend Lee Flynn and his older brother Noah. The movie quickly establishes their tight-knit friendship, setting the stage for the emotional rollercoaster to come. Elle, played by Joey King, narrates her seemingly perfect life, one that revolves around Lee and their inside jokes, shared memories, and the treasured rules that define their friendship. One of the most important rules? You do not date your best friend's older brother, Noah Flynn. The camera captures Elle's journey through high school, where she's an ordinary girl with a not-so-ordinary bond with Lee, played by Joel Courtney. They've been best friends forever, their lives intertwined through years of shared experiences and unspoken understanding. Elle, however, isn't exactly popular in school. She's not the girl everyone notices, and she's often in Lee's shadow. He's the charismatic, confident one, and Elle has learned to live with that dynamic. Her world is comfortable and predictable, or so she thinks. But of course, the kissing booth isn't about comfort or predictability. It's about breaking the rules and taking risks, and it all starts when Lee convinces Elle to participate in the school's annual fundraiser, a kissing booth. The idea sounds innocent enough at first. Each girl has to kiss the person who pays for it, a playful, harmless tradition meant to raise money for charity. But for Elle, this will be no ordinary kiss. It's here that we first encounter the heart of the film's tension, the kiss that sets everything into motion. As Elle nervously takes her place behind the booth, she's faced with a line of classmates eager to partake in the light-hearted activity. She's trying to remain calm, to be the girl who plays along without getting too involved in the attention or the awkwardness that comes with kissing strangers. But then, the unexpected happens. Noah Flynn, the elusive, brooding older brother of Lee, steps up to the booth. The air practically crackles with unspoken tension. Noah's presence is magnetic, and is known for his tough exterior and protective nature over his younger brother. There's always been an undercurrent of attraction between him and Elle, but the rules, those sacred rules, have always kept them at a distance. Yet, in this moment, as Elle reluctantly leans in to kiss Noah for the fundraiser, something shifts. The kiss isn't just a casual peck, it's electric. For a brief moment, time seems to stand still, and Elle is left wondering what just happened. This kiss, the first of many to come, becomes a catalyst for everything that follows. It's a kiss that ignites the hidden feelings between Elle and Noah and sends the entire school buzzing with gossip. But for Elle, it's not just about the kiss. It's about what it represents. A moment of rebellion, of breaking the rules that have always governed her friendship with Lee. It's a decision that Elle will grapple with throughout the film. What does it mean to follow her heart when the consequences could tear apart everything she holds dear? The kiss, however, isn't the only game-changer in this first half. Elle's internal conflict begins to grow as she finds herself drawn to Noah in ways she never imagined. He's always been a mystery to her, handsome, confident, yet distant. But now, as they share a secret attraction, Elle's world begins to spin in unexpected directions. She is torn between the loyalty she feels toward Lee, her best friend who is completely unaware of her growing feelings for his brother, and the magnetic pull she feels toward Noah, who seems equally intrigued but equally reluctant to fully engage. It's a classic forbidden romance, with every kiss, every stolen glance, feeling like a dangerous yet irresistible temptation. What makes this first half of the kissing booth so engaging is the tension that builds around Elle's secret relationship with Noah. She's walking a tightrope, trying to keep her feelings hidden from Lee while navigating the complicated dynamics of high school life. There's a sense of anticipation in every scene. Will Elle get caught? Will Noah back off or lean in further? The film does an excellent job of making us feel Elle's internal struggle, as she vacillates between desire and guilt, excitement and fear. The film also doesn't shy away from showcasing the complexity of Elle and Lee's relationship. Lee, for all his lovable charm, isn't without flaws. He's fiercely protective of Elle, which is part of the reason why she's so drawn to Noah. Noah represents something Lee doesn't fully understand: independence. While Lee is constantly looking out for Elle, Noah challenges her to think for herself and to step outside of the comfortable life she's always known. As Elle grapples with her feelings for Noah, she starts to question whether her deep connection with Lee is enough to keep her from exploring something new, something thrilling. Meanwhile, Noah himself is a fascinating character. He's not the typical heartthrob. He's layered, mysterious, and haunted by his own demons. His complicated family life, particularly his strained relationship with his father, fuels his distant and often volatile demeanor. He's not the kind of guy who's easily accessible or emotionally open. and that makes him even more alluring to Elle. But as much as Noah is drawn to Elle, he's also conflicted. There's a part of him that wants to keep things simple, to avoid getting entangled in the emotional messiness of high school romance. But every time he sees Elle, that resolve weakens. The pivotal moments in this first half are filled with tension, humor, and heart. One of the most significant is when Elle and Noah share a private conversation in the school parking lot. Their conversation, initially awkward and stilted, soon turns into an intimate exchange where they begin to open up to each other. Noah's guarded exterior starts to crack, revealing a side of him that Elle hasn't seen before, vulnerable and genuine. Elle, in turn, lets down her walls, revealing her true feelings. It's in this moment that the chemistry between the two of them becomes undeniable. It's the start of something that neither of them can control, a relationship that's more complicated than either of them could have imagined. But as much as the film focuses on the growing attraction between Elle and Noah, it never forgets the stakes of their secret romance. Elle is constantly torn between her loyalty to Lee and her burgeoning feelings for Noah. There's a constant undercurrent of tension. Will Lee find out? What will happen if he does? Elle's fear of losing her friendship with Lee hangs over every scene. And as the film progresses, we see Elle struggle with the consequences of her actions. She's not just navigating a romance. She's facing the challenge of growing up, of learning what it means to love and to make difficult choices. Every moment she shares with Noah becomes a step closer to a potential explosion, one that could change everything. As we near the halfway point of the movie, the emotional stakes are higher than ever. Elle's relationship with Noah is reaching a tipping point, and her bond with Lee is starting to unravel as the cracks in their friendship begin to show. The tension between loyalty and love, friendship and romance, is more palpable than ever, and it's clear that Elle can't keep this secret forever. In one particularly tense scene, Elle accidentally lets something slip in front of Lee, and it's clear that the truth is on the verge of coming out. The suspense is unbearable, and we're left on the edge of our seats, wondering how long Elle can keep up the charade before everything unravels. This first half of The Kissing Booth sets the tone for the rest of the movie, laying the groundwork for the emotional conflicts and twists to come. The characters are complex and multifaceted, and the relationships are anything but simple. What starts as an innocent, impulsive kiss evolves into a tangled web of emotions, secrets, and choices that no one is quite ready for. As Elle navigates the tricky waters of love and friendship, the film keeps us guessing, creating a sense of anticipation that builds with every passing moment. And as the first half draws to a close, we're left eagerly awaiting the inevitable fallout from Elle's actions, knowing that the stakes will only get higher from here. As we move into the second half of The Kissing Booth, the stakes are higher, the emotions deeper, and the tension more palpable. What began as a sweet, innocent kiss in the school's kissing booth has now become a whirlwind of secrets, betrayals, and complicated emotions. The stakes of Elle's secret romance with Noah are beginning to unravel in a way that she can no longer control, and the sense of impending chaos looms large over the remaining moments of the film. Elle's internal conflict has only grown more intense. She is caught between the two most important relationships in her life, her friendship with Lee and her increasingly complicated feelings for Noah. As the movie enters the second half, Elle is no longer just juggling her feelings. She's struggling to keep the delicate balance between the two worlds intact. It's becoming increasingly harder for her to hide the truth, especially as Lee starts to notice the small changes in Elle's behavior. He sees her slipping away from their usual dynamic, and his concern grows. But the real strain begins when Elle and Noah's relationship deepens. The first major turning point in the second half comes when Noah and Elle's chemistry becomes impossible to deny. The moments between them become more frequent, more intimate, and much harder to hide. One of the key turning points is when Noah, after an intense and emotional conversation, unexpectedly kisses Elle in private, fully acknowledging the spark that's been building between them. This kiss is different from the first one in the kissing booth. It's raw and passionate, filled with a sense of inevitability. In that moment, the walls between them finally break down. But it's also in that moment that Elle knows she's crossed a line. The feelings between them are no longer something she can ignore or downplay. The kiss represents both the culmination of their slow-burning attraction and the beginning of a much more complicated relationship. As Elle and Noah navigate this new, uncharted territory of their secret romance, the tension with Lee continues to build. Lee, ever the loyal best friend, remains blissfully unaware of the growing attraction between Elle and Noah. But it's clear that he senses something's off, and his suspicions mount. In one particularly significant scene, Elle and Lee have a heart-to-heart conversation about their friendship. Elle's guilt is palpable, but she brushes it off, not wanting to hurt Lee by revealing the truth. She continues to hide the secret, believing that it will somehow work itself out. But the deeper she gets into her relationship with Noah, the more it becomes clear that this lie is starting to tear apart the very fabric of her friendship with Lee. At the same time, Noah's darker side begins to emerge. Up until this point, he's been portrayed as the protective, mysterious older brother, someone who seems to have everything under control. But as Elle grows closer to him, his vulnerabilities become more apparent. His relationship with his father, who has been emotionally distant and harsh, plays a central role in Noah's development. We learn that Noah's tough exterior is a defense mechanism, a result of years of emotional neglect from his father. This deeper layer of Noah's character provides a more empathetic view of him. We begin to understand that his protectiveness of Elle isn't just about being a good brother. It's also about trying to protect something pure in his life, something that hasn't been tainted by the struggles he faces at home. However, his unresolved anger and emotional baggage also make him volatile. There are moments when he lashes out, and his possessiveness over Elle becomes more pronounced. These flashes of anger make Elle's decision to pursue their relationship even more fraught, especially as she begins to question if Noah is truly the person she thought he was. The first real crack in Elle and Lee's friendship comes when Elle, trying to juggle both her relationship with Noah and her loyalty to Lee, inadvertently lets something slip that makes Lee suspicious. He confronts her, and Elle is forced to admit that there's more going on than she's been letting on. This moment is pivotal. It's a gut-wrenching confrontation between Elle and Lee that highlights the depth of their friendship and the betrayal Elle feels she's committed. Lee is hurt, confused, and angry, but he still doesn't know the full truth. Elle tries to explain her feelings for Noah, but Lee can't understand how she could have kept it from him for so long. The emotional weight of this scene is overwhelming. Lee feels deeply betrayed by the one person he thought he could trust with anything. The fractured nature of their relationship is a painful reminder of the complexities of growing up and the heartache that comes with it. But just as Elle's world feels like it's beginning to collapse, the next twist comes when Noah makes a bold move. After seeing how much Elle has struggled with the situation, he makes the decision to be upfront with Lee. He confronts his younger brother and admits to the secret romance with Elle, believing that their relationship is no longer something that can be hidden. This is a turning point for Noah's character. It's the moment he chooses to be vulnerable and honest, something he's rarely done with anyone, let alone his brother. But Lee's reaction is explosive. He feels completely betrayed by Noah, who he had always looked up to and trusted. The confrontation is emotionally charged, and the fallout is immediate. Lee, unable to forgive either of them, ends his friendship with Elle, and Noah is left to deal with the consequences of his actions. The emotional intensity of these moments carries through the second half of the film. As Elle and Noah try to repair their strained relationships with Lee, they also face the challenges of their own romance. There's a beautiful moment between Noah and Elle where they share a quiet conversation about their feelings for each other. It's here that the true vulnerability of their relationship shines. Noah admits that he has always had trouble expressing his emotions, but with Elle, he feels different. He's finally opening up in a way he never thought possible. Elle, in turn, reveals her own insecurities and fears. Their connection deepens further, and we see them move from being two people caught up in the whirlwind of secret love to a couple who is learning to navigate their feelings and their challenges. But just as things begin to look promising, the emotional turmoil of the past comes crashing down. Lee, feeling betrayed by both his best friend and his brother, takes a final stand. He confronts Elle one last time, and their argument reaches a boiling point. Elle, filled with guilt and frustration, finally breaks down and admits everything. She confesses that she has fallen in love with Noah, and in doing so, acknowledges the pain and heartbreak it has caused. The scene is a raw, emotional culmination of all the tension that has been building throughout the film. Elle and Lee's friendship is in ruins, and it's clear that things will never be the same between them. In the wake of this confrontation, Elle and Noah's relationship is tested like never before. Elle is left with the painful realization that, in choosing Noah, she may have lost the most important friendship in her life. But Noah, ever the protector, stands by her side. He offers her the emotional support she needs, and slowly, they begin to rebuild their relationship. The final act of the film comes as Elle makes a difficult choice to reconcile with Lee, understanding that she must take responsibility for the hurt she's caused. In an emotional gesture, Elle reaches out to Lee, apologizing for betraying him and expressing her desire to repair their bond. This marks the emotional turning point for Elle. She's not just fighting for her relationship with Noah. She's also fighting to rebuild the friendships and connections she holds dear. The film culminates in a heartwarming scene that brings everything full circle. Elle, after a series of heartfelt apologies and reconnections, finds a way to bring both Noah and Lee back into her life, albeit in different capacities. She's learned that life isn't about perfect choices. It's about embracing the messiness of love, friendship, and growing up. The movie ends on a hopeful note, with Elle, Noah, and Lee walking into the future with a newfound understanding of themselves and each other. As the credits roll, The Kissing Booth leaves us with a sense of bittersweet satisfaction. The emotional roller coaster of the second half has been exhausting, filled with moments of heartbreak, growth, and self-discovery. And while the film concludes with a resolution, it's clear that Elle's journey isn't over. The lessons she's learned about love, loyalty, and forgiveness will stay with her as she moves forward into the next chapter of her life. The second half of the film ties together all the emotional threads that have been weaving through the story, bringing everything to a poignant, satisfying conclusion that resonates long after the screen goes black. The Kissing Booth is a delightful blend of romance, drama, and coming-of-age moments, with a rich tapestry of characters whose complexities and growth drive the heart of the story. Each character is a reflection of the messy, beautiful nature of growing up, making their motivations, transformations, and arcs essential to the emotional core of the film. What makes these characters unforgettable isn't just their individual journeys, but how they intertwine to reflect the dynamics of love, loyalty, and self-discovery. In this deep dive, we'll explore the emotional undercurrents that make each of the main characters feel real, while also acknowledging the supporting characters who help shape the narrative in subtle but significant ways. At the heart of The Kissing Booth is Elle Evans, played by Joey King. Elle is the lens through which we experience the entire movie, and her character arc is perhaps the most central to the film's message. At the beginning of the story, Elle feels like an outsider in her high school world. She's not the stereotypical popular girl, nor does she want to be. Instead, Elle is loyal, quirky, and confident in her friendship with Lee. However, her relationship with Lee and her position in the social hierarchy are complicated by her growing feelings for his older brother, Noah. Elle's internal struggle is one of the most compelling aspects of the film. On the surface, Elle is a fun-loving, carefree teen who's ready to embrace the highs and lows of life. But as her romantic feelings for Noah start to evolve, she's forced to confront a much deeper internal conflict. How far is she willing to go for love? How much is she willing to sacrifice for the sake of loyalty? Her growing attraction to Noah challenges everything Elle has known about herself and her relationships, but it also forces her to face her fears, her insecurities, and her longing for something deeper. Joey King's performance as Elle is full of vulnerability, humor, and energy. She embodies the spirit of Elle's character with such natural ease, making Elle's confusion, excitement, and heartache feel palpable. King's ability to shift between light-hearted humor and raw emotion makes Elle's character arc believable and deeply engaging. As Elle navigates the rollercoaster of emotions that come with her secret relationship with Noah, King's portrayal allows the audience to feel every twist and turn in her journey. From the playful moments with Lee to the moments of emotional depth with Noah, King's nuanced performance keeps Elle grounded, making her both relatable and endearing. Elle's journey isn't just about romance. It's about growing into herself, understanding her worth, and learning how to navigate the messy, sometimes painful, complexities of life. By the end of the movie, Elle has undergone a transformation, not just in her relationships but in how she sees herself. She starts off unsure and confused but ultimately comes to realize that she's worthy of love, loyalty, and forgiveness. Noah Flynn, played by Jacob Elordi, is the film's brooding, mysterious, and seemingly perfect older brother. At first glance, Noah might seem like a typical bad boy, confident, distant, and carrying an air of invincibility. He's the kind of guy who commands attention without even trying. But as the story unfolds, we begin to see the cracks in his facade. Noah is more than just a heartthrob. He's a young man dealing with unresolved pain, familial obligations, and the pressure of being the older brother everyone looks up to. Noah's relationship with Elle is complicated not just by his feelings for her but also by the strained relationship he has with his father. Throughout the film, Noah struggles with his desire to protect Elle and his own internal conflicts about what it means to love and open up to someone. His protective nature often clashes with his own insecurities and anger, especially when it comes to dealing with the past. His relationship with Elle forces him to confront his emotional baggage and let go of some of the control he's held over his life and emotions. Jacob Elordi brings an intense depth to Noah, making him more than just the handsome older brother with a temper. Elordi's performance as Noah is mesmerizing. He effortlessly conveys the inner turmoil of a young man who's afraid of vulnerability but also deeply wants connection. Through subtle glances, quiet moments of self-reflection, and emotionally charged scenes with Elle, Elordi crafts a character who's equally hard to understand and impossible to ignore. What makes Noah stand out as a character is that, despite his many flaws, we can see his growth as he opens up to Elle and eventually learns to let go of the walls he's built around himself. His transformation from the aloof older brother to a man who is willing to take risks for love is profound, and Elordi captures this beautifully. In a film that celebrates first loves and the messy, complicated nature of high school relationships, Noah's evolution from guarded and angry to open and vulnerable is one of the most emotionally rewarding aspects of the story. Lee Flynn, portrayed by Joel Courtney, is the glue that holds Elle's world together. He's her best friend, her confidant, and the person who's always had her back. The connection between Lee and Elle is the foundation of the story, and as the plot unfolds, Lee's role as both a best friend and a brother adds layers of tension and complexity to the narrative. Lee is loyal, funny, and full of life, but his relationship with Elle begins to strain as Elle's growing feelings for Noah threaten their friendship. Lee's character is driven by a desire to protect Elle, which, while admirable, eventually becomes a source of conflict. He wants to keep things exactly as they've always been, but as Elle changes and begins to explore her own feelings, Lee's possessiveness over their friendship grows, and he struggles to accept that Elle is evolving in ways he doesn't understand. His hurt when he finds out about Elle's secret relationship with Noah is palpable, and Courtney does an excellent job of conveying Lee's emotional turmoil. What makes Lee's arc so significant is his realization that friendships, like love, evolve, and that sometimes, letting go is part of growing up. Courtney's performance as Lee is filled with warmth and charm, and he perfectly captures the essence of the best friend who feels threatened by change. His natural chemistry with both King and Elordi makes the love triangle feel grounded and believable. Lee is the character who's stuck between his loyalty to his best friend and his deep, almost possessive, love for his brother. His transformation from hurt and betrayal to a place of understanding by the film's conclusion is a touching reflection of the difficulty of growing up and accepting that relationships are often messier and more complicated than we'd like them to be. Lee's journey is a reminder that true friendship, like true love, requires forgiveness and the willingness to adapt. The supporting characters in the kissing booth also play important roles in shaping the story's emotional landscape. Rachel, played by Megan Young, is Noah's ex-girlfriend and serves as a reminder of the unresolved tensions in Noah's life. While Rachel isn't a central character, her presence adds another layer to the dynamics between Noah and Elle. Rachel's interactions with Elle are initially tense, and her eventual support for Elle highlights the complexities of female friendships, even when romantic feelings are involved. In contrast, Elle's mom, played by a lesser role but important figure, helps to ground Elle's journey. Her wisdom and warmth provide a sense of stability in the midst of Elle's emotional turmoil. Then there's the character of Lee's girlfriend, who plays a less significant role in the plot but is important in representing the other side of high school relationships, those that are seemingly easier and less fraught with emotional baggage. While Elle's relationship with Noah is filled with tension and self-discovery, Lee and his girlfriend's relationship is a quieter, more stable example of young love. Their interactions provide contrast to Elle's turbulent romance, reminding her of the choices she's making and what it means to navigate love and loyalty. As The Kissing Booth moves through its twists and turns, each character's arc serves to enrich the overall narrative. Whether it's Elle learning to reconcile her friendships and romantic relationships or Noah realizing that love is about vulnerability and trust, the transformations they undergo are authentic and powerful. The film's real success lies in how it captures the messiness of growing up, how love, friendships, and loyalty intersect in ways that are never simple but always meaningful. Each performance in the film, from the leads to the supporting characters, adds a layer of emotional complexity, ensuring that The Kissing Booth resonates far beyond its romantic comedy framework. Behind every movie lies a world of untold stories, challenges, and surprising facts that shape its final product. The Kissing Booth is no exception, offering a fascinating behind-the-scenes journey that reveals how the film became a cultural phenomenon. From production hurdles to quirky on-set moments, there's so much more to uncover about the making of this rom-com that captivated audiences. Let's step into that world, unveiling everything from casting choices and secret Easter eggs to unexpected twists that almost derailed the film's path to success. The film's journey began with a relatively unknown production team, but was propelled into the spotlight thanks to the chemistry between its lead actors and the infectious energy of its script. But what many fans don't know is that The Kissing Booth faced its fair share of challenges on its road to becoming a hit on Netflix. One of the first hurdles the team encountered was the casting process, which, for a film like this, wasn't as straightforward as it might seem. The characters in The Kissing Booth are built on a foundation of fun, youthful energy, and chemistry that could only work if the actors truly connected with their roles. The film's producers knew they had a big task ahead of them, finding the perfect Elle, Lee, and Noah. Joey King, who portrayed Elle Evans, was cast relatively early in the process, but her casting came with its own set of challenges. King, known for her earlier work in films like Ramona and Beezus, was still growing as an actress. What really worked in her favor was her commitment to Elle's character. King didn't just bring a sense of humor and lightness to Elle. She also dove deep into the emotional complexities of the character. There's a scene near the end of the movie where Elle's emotions are at a boiling point, and King's performance was so raw that it left a lasting impact on everyone on set. But what few people know is that Joey King was actually somewhat nervous about taking on the role at first. She'd read the script and loved the idea of Elle being this quirky, relatable girl in a whirlwind of high school drama, but she didn't think people would take her seriously as the lead in a romantic comedy. She took on the role not just because she felt it was a fun challenge, but because she wanted to show a different side of herself as an actress. As she poured herself into the character, the chemistry between her and Jacob Elordi, who played Noah, started to build naturally, and that connection would become one of the film's most celebrated aspects. Jacob Elordi's journey into the role of Noah Flynn was just as interesting. Elordi had a background in theater but hadn't yet broken into the kind of mainstream roles that The Kissing Booth would offer. The casting team saw something in him, a magnetic presence, an intense yet vulnerable quality, that made him perfect for the role of Noah. What wasn't immediately apparent was that Jacob's portrayal of Noah wasn't just based on the script. It was influenced by his own personal experiences and a deep understanding of the character. Elordi has admitted in interviews that he drew from his own adolescent experiences and struggles with relationships to bring authenticity to Noah's complicated emotional landscape. However, there was a challenge that came with this. Elordi's Noah had to walk a fine line between being the protective, confident older brother and someone with a darker, more emotionally complex side. Elordi had to navigate Noah's transition from aloof to vulnerable without making him seem too distant or unlikable. It was a delicate balancing act that Elordi pulled off effortlessly, but the challenge came in the moments when Noah needed to be softer, particularly in his growing relationship with Elle. These shifts weren't easy to master, and the chemistry between Elordi and King was not something that happened overnight. In fact, their first few rehearsals were awkward, as they were still figuring out their on-screen dynamic. One of the most surprising aspects of the film's production was how quickly things came together. For a movie based on a book that didn't have the instant fame of, say, The Twilight Saga or The Hunger Games, the crew had limited time and budget to pull off the vision they had. A lot of the magic you see on screen was thanks to the team's dedication to making the most of their resources. A particularly noteworthy element was the iconic kissing booth itself. The design of the booth had to go through several iterations before the team settled on the perfect look. The booth was meant to be charming, quirky, and just the right amount of retro, a metaphor for the innocent beginnings of Elle and Noah's relationship. What's truly fascinating, however, is that the actual booth was built on set in only a few days, a timeline that left the design team with little room for error. Despite the rush, the final version of the booth was not only aesthetically perfect but also became an iconic symbol in the film, representing the start of Elle and Noah's complicated romance. Beyond the booth, there were other surprising challenges. For instance, some of the outdoor scenes, including those set in the school's parking lot, were filmed during the summer months. This created an unexpected problem: the intense heat. The cast and crew had to endure extreme temperatures while shooting some of the more intense emotional scenes, like when Noah and Elle's chemistry peaks. Jacob Elordi, in particular, noted that some of these scenes felt like they were set in a pressure cooker, with the stifling heat only adding to the already high emotions between the characters. One of the most unforgettable moments from the production, as Elordi recalled, was during a pivotal scene where Noah and Elle have an emotional confrontation in the parking lot. They were sweating under the intense sun, but the scene had to be shot quickly due to time constraints. The heat added an element of authenticity to the raw emotions the characters were experiencing. In a way, the physical discomfort became part of the emotional discomfort that the characters were going through. Another interesting fact from the production process revolves around the music. The soundtrack of The Kissing Booth became a significant part of the film's overall tone. The film's use of music, from its opening moments to the climactic scenes, added a layer of emotion that deepened the characters' journeys. However, the music wasn't always set in stone. A lot of the songs you hear in the film were added during the editing process. Some of the tracks, such as Perfect by One Direction, were chosen specifically because they fit the emotional weight of certain scenes. However, some of the music choices were completely unexpected and happened by chance. For example, the opening sequence, which features a fun and upbeat track, was initially meant to be more subdued. After a spontaneous decision by the director to swap in a faster-paced song, the scene was transformed, setting the tone for the lightheartedness that would follow. This decision marked the beginning of a creative process that embraced spontaneity, with the film's soundtrack ultimately contributing to its success as a teen rom-com. Speaking of the director, The Kissing Booth is one of those films where a strong vision came from the top down. Vince Mosello, who directed the movie, had a clear idea of what kind of story he wanted to tell. The challenge for him was making sure the film didn't slip into the usual clichés of the genre. Mosello wanted the film to feel authentic, so he leaned into the script's more awkward moments and allowed the actors to bring their own sense of vulnerability and relatability to the roles. It wasn't just about creating the perfect romantic fantasy but about crafting a genuine, heartfelt experience. Mosello allowed the film to have moments of fun, but he didn't shy away from the more uncomfortable truths that came with falling in love for the first time, especially when it's with someone who's off-limits. The film's success didn't come without its share of controversy, though. The romantic relationship between Elle and Noah, especially with the age gap and the sibling rivalry between Noah and Lee, sparked discussions among viewers. While some fans appreciated the forbidden romance angle, others questioned the ethical implications of Elle and Noah's relationship, especially considering the close-knit bond between Elle and Lee. However, what the film does successfully is depict the messiness of relationships and how they evolve. The dynamic between the characters, particularly the complex relationship between Elle and Lee, reflects the complications of growing up, where feelings of love, loyalty, and betrayal often clash. These themes resonate with viewers on a deeper level, which is why The Kissing Booth became such a cultural phenomenon despite the controversy. Beyond the script and performances, there were plenty of light-hearted moments on set, too. For example, Joey King and Jacob Elordi, who spent a lot of time together on screen, formed a strong bond while filming. Their friendship quickly turned into something much more fun behind the scenes, and they enjoyed playing pranks on one another in between takes. One hilarious incident involved King stealing Elordi's shoes and hiding them in her trailer, which led to an impromptu shoe hunt on set. The playful nature of their off-screen relationship helped fuel the undeniable chemistry that translated so well on screen. Elordi's pranks, combined with King's light-hearted spirit, created an atmosphere of camaraderie that made the challenging days of shooting feel a bit more fun. In the end, the combination of dedicated performances, an infectious script, and surprising behind-the-scenes moments contributed to the unique magic of the kissing booth. From the unexpected hurdles to the unforgettable on-set antics, the making of the film was a journey full of challenges, but it ultimately paid off with a movie that resonated with millions. Despite the controversies and challenges, The Kissing Booth became one of the defining teen rom-coms of the decade, a testament to the hard work and passion that went into its creation. In any cinematic journey, the creative and technical decisions behind the scenes can often make or break a film, elevating it from good to memorable. The Kissing Booth might have initially seemed like just another high school rom-com, but the film's production was nothing short of a creative feat behind the fun and charming moments. There were innovative choices and hidden intricacies that made this movie stand out. As we dive deeper into the production insights and technical achievements of The Kissing Booth, we'll uncover not only the creative risks that paid off but also the unexpected hurdles that the team overcame to deliver a visually stunning and emotionally engaging story. From the outset, the film was carefully constructed to evoke the right mix of nostalgia and fresh energy, merging the traditional teen rom-com elements with a modern sensibility. At first glance, the movie may appear deceptively simple, but the creative team worked tirelessly to create a distinctive aesthetic, one that made it feel both familiar and new. The most obvious technique that shaped The Kissing Booth was its use of color and light. It's a visual experience that feels warm and inviting from start to finish, from the golden hues of the beach scenes to the vibrant, neon-lit shots during the school fair. These moments were carefully crafted not just to serve the narrative, but to evoke the rush of youth and the heady emotions that come with the first experiences of love and heartbreak. One of the film's most striking features is its consistent use of saturated, rich colors. The production team used lighting in ways that enhanced the overall tone of the film, keeping everything youthful, bright, and visually engaging. It was important to the filmmakers that the movie didn't feel like another generic teen romance where the setting could have been anywhere. They wanted The Kissing Booth to feel like it belonged to a specific world, a place where the sun always seemed to shine, where the colors were vivid and exciting, and where every moment felt just a little bit more magical than real life. And it wasn't by accident. The cinematography was designed to reflect the exuberance of the characters and the dreamy, often surreal feeling of falling in love for the first time. The team even went as far as to consider how the colors of the characters' clothing would contribute to their emotional states, playing with contrasts and complementary hues to visually represent their inner struggles and growth. Take, for example, the famous Kissing Booth scene itself. From the moment Elle steps up to kiss Noah, the scene becomes a whirl of flashing lights, heavy with anticipation, yet undercut with vulnerability. The filmmakers intentionally used bright, almost overwhelming lighting to reflect the emotional chaos of the moment. There was an undeniable sense of warmth and attraction between the characters, but also an element of discomfort and tension, as they were stepping into unknown emotional territory. In this scene, lighting wasn't just about making things look pretty. It was an active tool used to immerse viewers into the story, making every glance, every shift in body language, even more intense. The technical decisions behind the film were also influenced by the dynamic between the characters. One of the main challenges the film faced was bringing the character of Noah to life in a way that felt authentic, yet visually engaging. Jacob Elordi's portrayal of Noah could easily have fallen into the trap of the stereotypical bad boy, but thanks to thoughtful direction and an eye for detail, the film offered a nuanced view of him. Elordi's striking physicality and the way he carried himself played into the visual storytelling. The camera often captured him in moments of stillness, often in wide shots that emphasized his imposing figure, yet those same wide shots would slowly tighten as his emotional vulnerabilities emerged. This was an intentional choice by the director and cinematographer, who wanted to show Noah's larger-than-life persona slowly breaking down over the course of the film, revealing his true self. In terms of technical hurdles, there was one aspect of production that required a particularly creative solution: filming the scenes that involved Elle's interaction with the Kissing Booth. The booth was, of course, central to the plot, but it was not easy to shoot. The scenes where Elle and Noah interact were complicated by the need for precise choreography, as the setup required both actors to be in close proximity while maintaining emotional distance. One particular challenge involved shooting the pivotal scene where Elle and Noah share their first kiss. The filmmakers had to balance the emotions of the moment with the technical precision of getting the shot right. Not only did the camera need to capture the exact right angle, but the filmmakers also had to ensure that the lighting hit the actors in such a way that it made their intimate connection feel palpable. The booth, itself, was carefully designed to be both charming and visually striking, just like the love story unfolding in front of it. It's this kind of attention to detail that elevated what could have been a cliched scene into a memorable, heart-thumping moment in the film. Another intriguing production choice was the decision to shoot the high school scenes in an actual high school, rather than a soundstage. This created a sense of authenticity that's hard to replicate. Rather than using artificial sets, the crew embraced the quirks and imperfections of real-world locations. Shooting in a real high school gave the movie an almost documentary-like feel, where every hall and classroom felt lived in. It also allowed the crew to tap into the real emotional energy of a high school environment, an energy that can be felt in the interactions between Elle, Lee, and the rest of the characters. The decision to use natural settings in combination with dynamic cinematography allowed the film to breathe and feel alive, rather than constricting it to artificial, staged environments. That said, this decision wasn't without its challenges. The real high school locations were often a maze of tight hallways, small classrooms, and unpredictable lighting. For example, a particularly memorable scene in the school courtyard involved Elle running toward Noah. Shooting in this real, bustling school environment meant that the crew had to work around students, school activities, and other logistical issues. They couldn't just close the doors and control every element. The real world was constantly interfering. But this was precisely the type of challenge that made the scenes feel more authentic, because it wasn't just about capturing the characters on a set. It was about capturing the spontaneity and unpredictable nature of youth. These unplanned moments added a sense of realism that made the film feel grounded in a world everyone could relate to. Another interesting technical achievement of The Kissing Booth was the film's use of editing to convey the passage of time and emotional shifts. There are moments in the film where the editors used quick cuts and fast transitions to reflect Elle's emotional rollercoaster. For instance, as Elle begins to wrestle with her growing feelings for Noah, the pacing of the cuts mirrors her heightened state of confusion. The transitions are sometimes abrupt, switching between moments of intense emotion and moments of playful banter. This gives the viewer a sense of disorientation that reflects Elle's own emotional disarray. It's a subtle but effective technique that adds to the movie's overall sense of urgency and emotional depth. Conversely, during moments of reflection and vulnerability, the cuts become slower, more deliberate, allowing the audience to linger in those intimate moments and feel the weight of what the characters are going through. But not every technical choice was made with a simple goal in mind. One of the most interesting aspects of the production was the sound design. Unlike many teen films that rely heavily on music to carry emotional beats, The Kissing Booth took a more nuanced approach. The sound design often used natural sounds, footsteps, distant chatter, the rustling of clothes, to immerse the viewer more deeply into the world of the characters. There's a scene early on where Elle is sitting on a bench, waiting for Lee, and the ambient noise of the school fills the space, underscoring her loneliness. These subtle sound choices were paired with music in such a way that they didn't overwhelm the emotional beats. The sounds of everyday life were used to bring the audience closer to the characters' internal worlds, grounding the movie in a reality that felt both intimate and universal. This mix of sound, lighting, and editing served to elevate the narrative, but the real heart of The Kissing Booth lay in its ability to make viewers feel the emotions of its characters without bombarding them with visual tricks or excessive drama. It's easy to get lost in the technicalities of filmmaking, but The Kissing Booth succeeded in letting its technical achievements serve the story rather than overshadow it. Every creative decision, from the lighting to the sound design, was designed to amplify the emotional stakes of the characters, creating a sense of intimacy that allowed the audience to get lost in the world of Elle, Lee, and Noah. In contrast, Elle's character embodies a different kind of resistance to societal expectations. As a young woman, she is often expected to behave in a certain way, to prioritize friendship over romantic interests, and to conform to the traditional narrative of being the good girl. Yet Elle's journey through the film is about questioning these norms. Her attraction to Noah and the way she handles the complexities of their relationship are examples of how women, too, can be agents of their own desires. Elle is not a passive character. She makes active decisions about her emotions and her relationships, and this autonomy is central to her development. The film presents a narrative in which Elle's actions reflect a rejection of the passive roles often assigned to women in romantic stories, allowing her to forge her own path. Symbolism is woven throughout The Kissing Booth, adding depth to the film's exploration of these themes. One of the most obvious symbols in the movie is the kissing booth itself. While on the surface, it may seem like a simple plot device, a cute and whimsical element that introduces Elle and Noah's relationship, the booth symbolizes the way in which romantic desires are often commodified. In the world of The Kissing Booth, the booth becomes a symbol of both risk and reward. It's where the characters test their boundaries, and where they both experience the excitement and uncertainty of first love. The booth represents a public display of affection, but it also acts as a physical manifestation of how romantic choices can be influenced by peer pressure and societal expectations. In that sense, the booth is not just a prop, but a powerful symbol of love's complexities, as it forces characters to face their feelings in front of an audience. Another significant symbol in the movie is the beach, which serves as both a literal and metaphorical space for personal reflection and growth. The beach is where Elle and Noah share some of their most intimate moments, and it acts as a kind of neutral ground where their feelings for one another can grow freely. The open expanse of the ocean represents both freedom and uncertainty, an apt metaphor for the emotional landscape the characters are navigating. The beach, with its natural beauty, also reflects the purity and vulnerability of love, suggesting that true connections are formed in places where people can be their most authentic selves. Ultimately, The Kissing Booth is more than just a romantic comedy. It's a nuanced exploration of love, identity, societal expectations, and personal growth. Through its characters and symbolic elements, the film challenges norms while also celebrating the beauty of vulnerability and emotional connection. In the end, it reminds us that love is not about perfection or following prescribed rules, but about understanding and embracing the messy, complicated journey of discovering who we truly are. The film's success lies in its ability to offer both an entertaining story and a thoughtful reflection on the universal themes that shape our relationships and our lives. As The Kissing Booth unfolds, it's easy to be swept up by its charm, humor, and the intoxicating rush of first love. But behind the story's surface lies a sophisticated and intentional visual style. Every shot, every moment of editing, and the sound design work together seamlessly to craft an emotional experience that resonates deeply with the audience. What may seem like a light, fun teen romance is, in fact, a meticulously designed film where each cinematic choice contributes to the storytelling. From the lighting to the music, The Kissing Booth excels in using visual techniques and sound to elevate its narrative and deepen the emotional impact of the story. One of the most immediately striking elements of The Kissing Booth is its visual style. The cinematography in the film is vibrant, warm, and rich with color, making every frame feel alive with energy. It's a reflection of the youthful exuberance of the characters and the intensity of their emotional experiences. From the sun-soaked beach scenes to the busy, bustling high school hallways, the film uses color as both an emotional and aesthetic tool. The warm hues, golds, reds, and yellows, dominate much of the film, making everything feel imbued with an almost dreamlike quality. This use of warm colors is not just a stylistic choice. It underscores the idea that love, for all its complexities and challenges, is also beautiful, exciting, and full of light. Take, for example, the opening scenes of the film. As Elle navigates her daily life, the cinematography makes sure to capture her in soft, natural lighting. The colors of the world around her, particularly the golden tones of the school's courtyard or the beach, mirror her state of mind, one that is at once grounded and filled with the potential for something more. This consistent use of warmth in the cinematography highlights the internal shift that Elle is going through. Her world, even though it seems familiar, is about to be turned upside down. The warmth of the visuals almost feels like a prelude to the emotional intensity that will follow. It's a subtle but powerful reflection of the transition she's undergoing from childhood to adulthood, from friendship to romantic love. The use of light plays a crucial role in this visual storytelling. The film often contrasts scenes of brightness with moments of shadow, helping to visually represent the emotional push and pull between the characters. Take the scenes between Elle and Noah, for instance. Their moments together are often bathed in a soft, almost ethereal light, suggesting the budding magic of their connection. But as their relationship grows more complicated, the lighting shifts, subtly becoming more shadowed, hinting at the tension, secrecy, and emotional turmoil that will eventually follow. It's a visual metaphor for the contrast between the idealized version of romance and the messy, difficult reality of it. Love is also deeply tied to the idea of identity in the kissing booth. Elle's identity as a young woman is, to some degree, defined by the relationships around her, her friendship with Lee, her connection to Noah, and the choices she makes as she navigates both. Early in the film, Elle is uncertain of where she fits in the world. She is caught between childhood and adulthood, between her best friend's world and the new, exhilarating experiences she's discovering with Noah. Her first kiss with Noah marks a significant turning point, not just in her romantic life but in her understanding of herself. It's a symbolic act of stepping into a new phase of her life, one that is messy, emotional, and often confusing. But it's also the moment when Elle begins to take ownership of her own desires, to decide who she wants to be on her own terms, rather than simply fulfilling expectations set by others. This theme of identity and the journey to self-realization is something that resonates deeply with the audience, especially given the pressures many young people face when it comes to relationships, family dynamics, and personal growth. The film also deals with the theme of breaking social norms and expectations, another significant social commentary embedded within its narrative. The forbidden romance between Elle and Noah, and the way it challenges the boundaries of friendship and family, touches on a broader societal theme, the idea of rebellion against prescribed roles and structures. In many ways, the movie portrays how societal expectations, especially when it comes to romantic and familial relationships, can feel stifling and suffocating. Elle's willingness to challenge the unspoken rule of not dating Lee's brother highlights how breaking away from conventional norms can lead to personal growth and emotional fulfillment. It's a quiet commentary on the ways in which societal rules about relationships, loyalty, and love are often arbitrary, and how true love can sometimes mean going against the grain. But beyond the central love triangle, the kissing booth also addresses issues surrounding gender roles and expectations. The film introduces the character of Noah, who, while initially portrayed as the stereotypical bad boy, is eventually revealed to be a more emotionally complex individual. His protective nature towards his younger brother Lee and his overbearing attitude toward Elle at the beginning reflect a certain traditional view of masculinity, one that ties a man's worth to his strength, independence, and ability to protect those he loves. However, Noah's evolution throughout the film challenges this traditional view. As he begins to open up to Elle, we see a more vulnerable side to him, one that questions the very concept of masculinity he's been raised to uphold. In many ways, Noah's journey is a reflection of how toxic masculinity can limit emotional expression and growth, and how true connection can only happen when people allow themselves to be vulnerable and open. This subtle critique of gender norms adds another layer to the film, making it not just a romantic comedy but a story about breaking down barriers in all forms, whether emotional, familial, or societal. In contrast, Elle's character embodies a different kind of resistance to societal expectations. As a young woman, she is often expected to behave in a certain way, to prioritize friendship over romantic interests, and to conform to the traditional narrative of being the good girl. Yet Elle's journey through the film is about questioning these norms. Her attraction to Noah and the way she handles the complexities of their relationship are examples of how women, too, can be agents of their own desires. Elle is not a passive character. She makes active decisions about her emotions and her relationships, and this autonomy is central to her development. The film presents a narrative in which Elle's actions reflect a rejection of the passive roles often assigned to women in romantic stories, allowing her to forge her own path. Symbolism is woven throughout the kissing booth, adding depth to the film's exploration of these themes. One of the most obvious symbols in the movie is the kissing booth itself. While on the surface, it may seem like a simple plot device, a cute and whimsical element that introduces Elle and Noah's relationship, the booth symbolizes the way in which romantic desires are often commodified. In the world of the kissing booth, the booth becomes a symbol of both risk and reward. It's where the characters test their boundaries, and where they both experience the excitement and uncertainty of first love. The booth represents a public display of affection, but it also acts as a physical manifestation of how romantic choices can be influenced by peer pressure and societal expectations. In that sense, the booth is not just a prop, but a powerful symbol of love's complexities, as it forces characters to face their feelings in front of an audience. Another significant symbol in the movie is the beach, which serves as both a literal and metaphorical space for personal reflection and growth. The beach is where Elle and Noah share some of their most intimate moments, and it acts as a kind of neutral ground where their feelings for one another can grow freely. The open expanse of the ocean represents both freedom and uncertainty, an apt metaphor for the emotional landscape the characters are navigating. The beach, with its natural beauty, also reflects the purity and vulnerability of love, suggesting that true connections are formed in places where people can be their most authentic selves. Ultimately, The Kissing Booth is more than just a romantic comedy. It's a nuanced exploration of love, identity, societal expectations, and personal growth. Through its characters and symbolic elements, the film challenges norms while also celebrating the beauty of vulnerability and emotional connection. In the end, it reminds us that love is not about perfection or following prescribed rules, but about understanding and embracing the messy, complicated journey of discovering who we truly are. The film's success lies in its ability to offer both an entertaining story and a thoughtful reflection on the universal themes that shape our relationships and our lives. As The Kissing Booth unfolds, it's easy to be swept up by its charm, humor, and the intoxicating rush of first love. But behind the story's surface lies a sophisticated and intentional visual style. Every shot, every moment of editing, and the sound design work together seamlessly to craft an emotional experience that resonates deeply with the audience. What may seem like a light, fun teen romance is, in fact, a meticulously designed film where each cinematic choice contributes to the storytelling. From the lighting to the music, The Kissing Booth excels in using visual techniques and sound to elevate its narrative and deepen the emotional impact of the story. This vision of heightened reality is also present in the film's use of visual motifs. The Kissing Booth itself, for example, becomes more than just a physical object. It symbolizes the intensity and the risks of love, a place where feelings are exposed and laid bare for everyone to see. The booth is shot in a way that makes it seem like a portal to another world, where Elle and Noah's romantic connection is both thrilling and dangerous. This sense of fantasy permeates not only the physical spaces of the film but also the emotional experiences of the characters, elevating the romance and making it feel more significant than ordinary high school flirtations. Ultimately, the visual style, cinematography, editing, sound design, and music in The Kissing Booth all work in perfect harmony to create a film that isn't just a standard teen romance. Every element of the film is crafted to draw the viewer into the world of the characters, allowing them to experience the emotional highs and lows of first love, friendship, and self-discovery. The director's vision is clear. This isn't just a story, it's an emotional journey where every cinematic choice is an integral part of the storytelling. Through its expert use of visual techniques and sound, The Kissing Booth succeeds in not just telling a story, but in immersing the audience in the characters' experiences, making it a rich and resonant cinematic experience that lingers long after the credits roll. The world of The Kissing Booth might seem like a familiar one, a high school romance with the usual ingredients: unspoken love, best friend dynamics, and the ever-present dilemma of who to choose. However, the film employs a nuanced blend of cinematic techniques that elevate it beyond the typical teen rom-com. From its vibrant visuals to its rhythmic editing, every choice, whether it's how a shot is framed or how music swells during a particular moment, contributes to the emotional pulse of the film. The director, Vince Marcello, uses these techniques to create a specific mood, tone, and rhythm that draws the viewer deeper into the characters' emotional worlds. The way The Kissing Booth uses its visual storytelling, sound design, and musical choices forms an inseparable part of the narrative, enhancing the emotional resonance and inviting the audience to connect more intimately with the characters. Right from the opening credits, The Kissing Booth grabs your attention with its bright, warm cinematography. The camera captures Elle's world as it exists in a sun-drenched, almost idyllic high school landscape. This warmth, seen in the golden hues of the settings, mirrors the idealized perception Elle has of her life. It's familiar, safe, and filled with the energy of youthful excitement. However, the visual approach is far from flat. Mosello makes sure that each frame is filled with life, color, and a subtle sense of movement that gives the film a dynamic, energetic feel. From the sunny outdoor hallways to the interior shots of Elle's room or the kissing booth itself, the warmth of the palette imbues each scene with a sense of youthful vitality. This intentional warmth not only gives the film its aesthetic identity but also plays into the larger emotional journey of Elle as she transitions from innocence to a more complicated emotional understanding of love, friendship, and loyalty. The cinematography goes beyond the use of color to include thoughtful shot composition that mirrors the emotional highs and lows of the characters. For example, there is a subtle but effective use of wide shots and tight close-ups to emphasize the emotional space between characters. The camera frequently pulls back to show the wide-open spaces of Elle's school or the beach, visually isolating her, a visual metaphor for the inner conflict she faces as she navigates her feelings for Noah and the impact it has on her friendship with Lee. The wide shots give a sense of distance, suggesting Elle's emotional isolation and confusion. Meanwhile, as her relationships with Noah and Lee grow more complicated, Mosello shifts the camera to tighter shots, pulling in closer to her as she faces the complexities of these connections. The camera lingers on Elle's face during critical moments, capturing the vulnerability, hesitation, and internal struggle she's experiencing. These close-ups create an intimacy that allows the audience to feel her emotional turmoil, amplifying the stakes of her decisions. This strategic use of space and shot composition is further enhanced by the editing style, which is key in pacing the film's emotional beats. In the kissing booth, the editing is fast and fluid, keeping the energy of the film high during scenes of humor, adventure, or romance. The quick cuts between Elle and Noah as they flirt or share stolen moments highlight the mounting tension in their relationship, making each interaction feel fresh and exhilarating. These rapid cuts help convey the rush of first love, making the scenes feel electric and spontaneous. Conversely, when the film delves into moments of emotional vulnerability, such as Elle's conversation with Lee about their friendship, there is a deliberate slowing of pace. The shots linger longer, drawing out the tension and allowing the weight of the emotions to sink in. This contrast in pacing highlights the duality of the film, the carefree excitement of high school romance juxtaposed against the painful, more introspective moments of growth and self-discovery. The editing also utilizes visual transitions to signal shifts in the characters' emotional states. When Elle is grappling with difficult decisions or experiencing moments of doubt, there's a noticeable shift in the flow of the editing. Slower cuts, longer lingering shots, and more static frames all create a sense of emotional stillness that reflects the character's inner turmoil. On the other hand, during moments of connection, the film uses quicker transitions, rapid cross-cutting, and even slow-motion sequences to elevate the emotional stakes. The scene in which Elle and Noah share their first kiss is a perfect example. The editing becomes more rhythmic, matching the intensity of their emotions, heightening the anticipation and making the kiss feel like a climactic moment. The pacing here mirrors the emotional crescendo that has been building throughout the film, making the scene feel both thrilling and poignant. But visual style isn't just limited to the framing and editing. The film also leans heavily on stylistic choices that speak to the director's vision. Mosello, drawing inspiration from teen romance films of the past, injects a sense of heightened reality into the movie. The world of the kissing booth exists somewhere between the grounded realism of high school life and the exaggerated fantasy of young love. This creates a slightly dreamy, romanticized atmosphere that makes the emotional stakes feel grander and more universal. The cinematography reflects this fantasy by emphasizing the golden hour lighting, the idyllic school setting, and the often surreal beauty of the scenes involving Elle and Noah's burgeoning romance. There's a sense that the world around them exists for the sole purpose of their emotional and romantic journey, making every moment they share feel significant and larger than life. An excellent example of Mosello's stylistic approach is the kissing booth itself, a seemingly simple object that becomes a key symbol in the film. The booth isn't just a backdrop for a playful or flirtatious interaction. It becomes a larger-than-life focal point, an emblem of both risk and reward. The shots of the booth are framed to look almost cinematic in their grandeur, drawing attention to its significance within the narrative. Marcello uses the booth as a place where characters' desires are laid bare, and Elle's initial encounter with Noah in the booth marks a critical point in her emotional arc. The heightened sense of importance that Marcello assigns to the booth emphasizes the significance of Elle's choices, making her romantic exploration feel monumental. Sound design and music play an equally important role in the kissing booth, further shaping the emotional impact of the film. In teen rom-coms, music can be a powerful tool, and the kissing booth uses it masterfully to evoke the right feelings at key moments. The film's soundtrack, a carefully curated mix of contemporary pop tracks and romantic ballads, ties into the emotions the characters are experiencing and enhances the overall tone of the movie. From the energetic, carefree tunes that underscore the moments of flirtation and excitement to the slower, melancholic tracks that accompany the film's more introspective moments, the music heightens the emotional intensity, guiding the audience through the emotional highs and lows of the film. One of the most important ways that music shapes the film is through its use to heighten moments of connection and tension. During Elle and Noah's interactions, music is often used to underline the chemistry between them. The swelling of music during their flirtations, coupled with the soft lighting and intimate shots, creates a palpable sense of romantic tension. The music swells during the first kiss scene, for example, enhancing the intensity and making the moment feel like an emotional climax. The score acts as a cue for the audience, telling them when to feel the rush of first love, when to feel the sadness of a growing distance, and when to experience the heartache of emotional conflict. Sound design also plays a crucial role in building the immersive world of the kissing booth. The ambient sounds of the high school, footsteps echoing through hallways, lockers slamming shut, the hum of student chatter, serve as the auditory backdrop to the emotional scenes, grounding the film in its realistic setting. However, the sound design often works in tandem with the music to create a layered experience that speaks to the characters' emotional worlds. For example, in the quieter, more reflective moments, sound drops to a whisper. The music becomes softer, and the ambient noise fades away, making the moments feel more intimate and personal. In moments of emotional confrontation, such as when Elle is torn between her loyalty to Lee and her desire for Noah, the sound design becomes more pronounced, intensifying the stakes of the situation. The contrast between the background noise of the world and the emotional music highlights Elle's internal conflict, emphasizing her sense of being torn between the people she loves. The film also uses music to express Elle's emotional growth. In the early stages of the film, Elle's playlist is filled with carefree, upbeat tunes, tracks that convey the excitement and innocence of her high school life. As the film progresses and her emotional journey becomes more complex, the music shifts, incorporating slower, more reflective songs that mirror her internal struggles and moments of doubt. This shift in the soundtrack signals to the audience that Elle's journey is not just one of romance but of self-discovery, and the changing musical landscape serves as a cue for the emotional shifts she's experiencing. The director's vision is clear in how the visuals, sound, and editing work together to tell a cohesive story. Vince Marcello has crafted a world that feels both familiar and heightened, where the boundaries between reality and fantasy blur, especially when it comes to the exploration of love and friendship. His use of color, framing, and music immerses the audience in a world that is emotionally charged and visually rich, pulling the viewer into the hearts and minds of the characters. Through these cinematic techniques, The Kissing Booth becomes more than just a simple romance. It evolves into a layered and emotionally resonant story that connects deeply with its audience. By blending visual storytelling, editing, sound design, and music in such a seamless way, Marcello creates a world where every emotion is intensified and every moment carries weight, turning a light-hearted teen romance into a cinematic experience that resonates long after the screen goes dark. The Kissing Booth burst onto the teen movie scene in 2018, marking an unforgettable moment in the genre's history. At first glance, it might seem like just another high school romance, a familiar concoction of love triangles, first kisses, and friendship dilemmas. But as the film began to pick up steam, it became clear that The Kissing Booth was not just another rom-com. It was a game-changer for the genre, impacting not just teen filmmaking, but pop culture at large. With its infectious charm, compelling performances, and relatable characters, it became an undeniable cultural phenomenon, leaving behind a legacy that continues to echo in the years since its release. To truly understand the kissing booth's lasting significance, it's important to look at how it influenced filmmaking, the genre itself, and how it became a touchstone in pop culture. The film's influence on its genre is undeniable. While teen romantic comedies had been a staple of cinema for decades, The Kissing Booth brought a fresh energy to the genre, one that blended classic tropes with new-age sensibilities. In many ways, it revived the teen rom-com genre at a time when Hollywood seemed to be moving away from the traditional formula. It was a hit at a time when audiences were hungry for stories that felt fun, escapist, and full of heart. With its bright colors, catchy soundtrack, and relatable characters, the film tapped into the essence of what made earlier teen classics so beloved. Movies like 10 Things I Hate About You or She's All That. But it also modernized those elements, bringing a fresh perspective that resonated with today's youth. One of the most significant ways that The Kissing Booth shifted the landscape of teen rom-coms was through its use of the digital platform. Released on Netflix, the film was able to reach a massive audience in a way that traditional theatrical releases simply could not. Streaming services like Netflix were beginning to emerge as key players in the entertainment industry, and The Kissing Booth was at the forefront of that wave. It wasn't just another movie to watch on a lazy Saturday afternoon. It became a part of a larger cultural conversation. The film, and its subsequent sequels, tapped into the growing demand for content that could be accessed easily and immediately, creating a new paradigm for how audiences consumed their favorite movies. The success of The Kissing Booth proved that there was a massive appetite for stories that embraced the quirky, heartfelt, and dramatic elements of youth and romance, all while taking advantage of the unique format that streaming services offer. Another major influence of the film on the teen rom-com genre was its depiction of relationships and friendships. Though it adhered to the familiar template of a love triangle, Elle caught between her best friend Lee and her crush, Noah, the film added layers of complexity to these relationships that set it apart from similar stories. The emotional stakes weren't just about whether Elle would end up with Noah, but about the challenges of balancing romance with friendship and staying true to oneself. The conflict Elle faces between her growing feelings for Noah and her loyalty to Lee feels more grounded and relatable than the typical love triangle scenarios that tend to dominate teen films. By highlighting the messiness of friendship dynamics and the internal struggles that accompany love, The Kissing Booth was able to inject a sense of realism into its high-concept romance. But it wasn't just about romance and friendship. The film also represented a shift in how teen narratives were being told. In the years leading up to its release, teen films often fell into predictable patterns, tropes that were comfortably familiar but, at times, predictable. The Kissing Booth broke free from that mold by embracing a more unpredictable, character-driven approach. Elle's journey was one of self-discovery, and as she navigated her emotions, she learned lessons that weren't always easy or clear-cut. It wasn't just about choosing the right boy. It was about learning to trust herself and make difficult choices that would shape her future. In that sense, The Kissing Booth elevated the genre by showcasing a young woman who wasn't defined by her romantic relationship, but by her emotional growth and development. It gave its audience a heroine who felt both aspirational and deeply relatable. The cultural impact of The Kissing Booth can be seen not just in how it influenced other films, but in the way it shaped conversations around teen romance in popular media. The film's characters, particularly Elle, became icons for a new generation of young viewers. Joey King's portrayal of Elle resonated deeply with audiences, capturing the spirit of a generation in search of connection, adventure, and self-understanding. Her character became a touchstone for what it meant to navigate the complexities of teenage life, from the thrills of first love to the agony of losing a friend. Elle's ability to laugh at herself, take risks, and face her fears made her a standout character in the teen movie landscape, and Joey King's performance ensured that Elle's journey remained one of the most memorable in the genre. Beyond Elle, the film also introduced audiences to Noah Flynn, played by Jacob Elordi, who quickly became a heartthrob for many. His portrayal of the brooding, yet deeply caring Noah tapped into the classic bad boy with a soft side trope, but he brought enough vulnerability to the role to make it feel fresh and layered. As the film gained momentum, the chemistry between Joey King and Jacob Elordi was undeniable, and their off-screen friendship added to the magic of their on-screen dynamic. The film's lasting impact can be seen in the way both King and Elordi have gone on to become major stars in their own right, carrying the legacy of The Kissing Booth with them into new projects and roles. Cinematography perfectly complements the youthful energy of the film, effervescent, light, and full of possibility. This aesthetic isn't just window dressing, it's an integral part of the film's storytelling, creating an atmosphere that feels both fantastical and grounded. The camera often lingers on Elle's face during moments of doubt or joy, emphasizing her emotional journey and allowing the audience to fully engage with her internal world. At the same time, wide shots of the school or the beach create a sense of space, underscoring the emotional distance that sometimes exists between Elle and those around her. But it's not just the visuals that make the film stand out. It's also the way the story is structured. Despite its familiarity, The Kissing Booth is careful not to fall into the trap of predictable beats. While it certainly plays with many of the classic romantic tropes, it does so in a way that feels refreshing and unpredictable. The conflict between Elle's loyalties and desires is more nuanced than just a straightforward love triangle. The movie takes its time to build emotional depth, letting its characters evolve naturally instead of forcing them into neat, conventional arcs. Elle's journey isn't just about picking the right boy. It's about learning to navigate the complexities of her relationships and, most importantly, learning to trust herself. From a filmmaking standpoint, The Kissing Booth makes excellent use of its platform. Released on Netflix, the movie found a massive audience with just a click of a button. The streaming platform provided the perfect environment for the film to flourish, allowing it to reach teens and young adults around the world without the constraints of traditional theatrical distribution. This accessibility gave The Kissing Booth a unique cultural footprint, sparking conversations across social media, inspiring fan art, and leading to millions of views globally. Its success was a testament to how streaming platforms have changed the way audiences consume content, and how they can foster the creation of films that resonate on a larger, more inclusive scale. Another critical aspect of the film's enduring appeal is its soundtrack. Music plays a crucial role in amplifying the emotions of the film, helping to craft the film's narrative rhythm and pacing. From the upbeat pop songs that accompany Elle's lighter moments to the slow ballads that underscore her more introspective scenes, the soundtrack is an emotional guide that helps elevate the film's key moments. Each song seems to reflect Elle's changing emotional state, whether she's caught in the whirlwind of first love or wrestling with difficult choices. This clever integration of music into the storytelling adds an extra layer of richness to the film, giving it a distinct feel that lingers long after the credits roll. Looking back at The Kissing Booth's legacy, it's clear that the film wasn't just a fleeting moment in time. It's become a cultural touchstone for many, representing the trials and triumphs of being a teenager. The movie's success led to 2 sequels, cementing its place as a beloved series, and it sparked conversations about the changing landscape of teen romantic comedies. The Kissing Booth proved that there's still room for heartfelt, fun, and emotionally resonant stories in a genre that many thought had run its course. The movie's influence can be seen in the films that followed, as the genre started embracing more diverse perspectives, bolder narratives, and a renewed emphasis on character-driven storytelling. As we reflect on the film's cultural impact, it's impossible to ignore the way it helped shape the modern teen movie landscape. It has inspired not only its audience but also filmmakers and creatives to push the boundaries of what teen films can be. And the characters, particularly Elle and Noah, have become iconic symbols of the highs and lows of young love, cementing their place in the pop culture lexicon. In conclusion, The Kissing Booth stands out as a film that combines heart, humor, and emotional depth, breaking free from the typical rom-com mold to create something uniquely memorable. It continues to capture the essence of youth, from the exhilarating first sparks of romance to the sometimes painful realities of friendship and self-discovery. It has left an indelible mark on its genre and continues to be loved by audiences around the world. So, if you haven't already, take another trip to the booth. It's one that's bound to leave a lasting impression. If you loved this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together. There's always more to discover, and we're just getting started.